like how I'm trained?
No, just start talking.
Okay.
Start talking.
Hi, my name's Khadija,
My name's Varsha.
and this is our book talk part dose. So I read the book, The Raft.
It's gonna be reversed.
Oh, I read the book Raft by S.A. Bowden. Like most of the books I read recreationally, The Raft by S.A. Bowden is one filled with adventure and suspense, with a young female main character that I can relate to, and a plot twist that makes me gasp with surprise, like that. This book fits all the criteria for me to consider it a good, dare I say, great book. Yeah. The story starts off with a normal teenage girl, Robbie, whose parents are research biologists on the Battle of Midway. So she's not really that normal because she lives in the middle of nowhere. But the island where she lives is a place of freedom for her to roam and explore, filled with cool things like her own golf cart and hanging out with National Geographic photographers. However, like most restless teens, she craves reliable access to the thing that makes the world go round, aka Wi-Fi, aka the internet. While on the way back from an annual summer visit to her aunt's home on the island of Honolulu, tragedy strikes on this seemingly routine trip. The engine of the small G-1 plane that was to carry her back home breaks down and crash lands into the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The trip turns into one's fight of survival, sharks, and tragedy. Without revealing too much, I would recommend this book to anyone who loves stories of courage, bravery, and resilience. So 10 out of 10, recommend. Oh, and the key points in my book is basically one's inner strength and how people overcome obstacles when all odds are against them.
So it's like an inspirational book.
Yes.
It's like
She almost dies multiple times, and there's like, as I said, like there's like sharks and like.
So is there like a happy ending, or like you're not gonna reveal that?
There's a lot of plot twists, which I think are good in a book, but happy ending, it kind of gets, it's kind of so-so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Where's your book?
Yeah, my book was 5 Past Midnight in Bhopal by Dominique Lapierre and Javier Moro, and there was pretty much there's pretty much no like happiness in this book at all. It's a nonfiction book about an industrial disaster in Bhopal, India, in northern India. It's a major public health disaster that occurred as a result of a leak at a Union Carbide industrial facility.
They should plug that. Just kidding, keep going. Yeah, that was ugly. Keep
really
going.
Okay. Union Carbide was this one company that, in order to produce their pesticides, they needed to create this chemical called methyl isocyanate, and
Sciencey. Sorry, keep going.
And it was it's just like very toxic chemical. And so when they were creating, the book was basically set up in 3 different parts. The first part was about how the facility was The first part was about how this facility was like set up in India, and the second part was about like the leak itself, and the last part was kind of about the after effects. So in the first part, they kind of like that's where like one of the main key points of emphasis was introduced, which is basically that like people at like the upper levels of government and business didn't really care about like the human impact of what they were doing. Like people in the government, in the Indian government, and at the upper level of Union Carbide, they didn't really care. They turned a blind eye to what their facility would do to the people of Bhopal. Like there were a lot of steps that they could have taken to make sure that the leak never happened, but because those steps cost too much money, and because they didn't really care about the people there, they just didn't implement that. And so in the second part, when they described the leak, like there was like Union Carbide basically ignored its own safety procedures, which is how the leak happened. So when methyl isocyanate formed this like poisonous cloud, which kind of went over the whole city of Bhopal. Like thousands of people were dying, thousands of people more were severely injured and had lasting after effects. So many people lost their eyesight, which is really what people rely on their eyesight a lot, especially in developing countries. Like I said, one of the key points of emphasis is about how people who are like rich and have power don't really care about how the other half lives, or it's actually much more than half, I guess, but how like pretty much everyone else lives. So I would recommend this because although it's not like happy or uplifting in any way, I think it's like important to know how companies and government can sometimes not care about the people that they're supposed to serve.
So like, if you wanted to be woke, for example, #woke, you would read that book. I think I might read that book.
You're gonna cry.
I will, probably. Okay, sorry our book talk this time wasn't as good as our last one, but next one maybe be better.